Yep, we're on.
I think as the current deputy chair, I've been asked to chair this meeting until such time as we're fortunate enough to perhaps elect a chair amongst us here today. So we are starting the 22-27 election of the chair, which Ian Clark has put forward you, Paul, as a nomination. I didn't know whether it was with your agreement or...
No, I'm happy to accept it now.
Right. Okay.
Unless you want to.
No, I don't. Well, I have no objection to doing it, except as you know, my time is limited.
I'm happy to accept. I'll accept the nomination if people accept the nomination received. Yeah.
Everyone in favour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we need a second?
I'm happy to ask.
Yeah.
Call me a seconder,
Yeah.
Lisa. And then in case you haven't seen it, Paul, I think Ian suggested James.
Yep.
Deputy?
For deputy, yep.
Which I'll second.
Are you willing to stand?
Excellent.
Thank you very much. In which case, I'll hand to you.
Thank you. So, Jamie Deputy, thank you very much. 2229, apologies for absence. Councillor Clark,
Ian Clark and Rebecca.
Rebecca.
Duvall.
are we happy to accept those apologies?
Yeah.
Thank you. Any declaration of interest on the disclosable pecuniary interest level remaining? And known at this stage of the agenda?
No.
Any other interest declared?
No.
Okay, 2231 representation, don't think we've got any Lisa now.
No.
Minutes of the previous meeting. So those present, myself, Liz, Ian Clark was there, and Jamie. Are they a honest and true account of the meeting that we were all involved in? Can we have a proposer then? Liz, I'll second. Thank you very much. Just sign the last page, yeah?
Sign all three and sign and date the last page, please.
Can I just ask a technical question?
Yeah.
There didn't seem to be any apologies. Well, I would have had apologies
Yeah, you would know.
because
Yes, they're not.
I know. Well,
Yeah, you had ongoing ones, so you should be on there, yeah.
Oh, yes, it's further down. I beg your pardon. I was expecting it to be, yeah, it's further down. My apologies.
Okay.
So we're all happy?
Again.
Basically all happy.
Right.
Thank you very much. So we've got 2233, we've received the IED report, overseas properties and open spaces. We've received the monthly properties and open spaces update report yet. We've received the action plan and progress report, and 223304, the 3 to 5 year rolling maintenance action plan, nothing to report at this stage. Is that right, Lisa?
Yeah.
So can we make that a priority for the next wee while?
I think we said that we would wait until after the walk round.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's
They're
gonna form
meeting
the,
right there.
yeah,
But
basis.
that's what you said we'd do. All come back with their comments from that, and that will help to form the basis of what it's going to look like. So
Right, thank you. So the rugby club report. So the porta cabins are being installed behind the existing club there.
Yeah, they've appeared back again.
Is that to give, sorry, I should know this, but is that to give them extra changing
I
space?
think changing rooms.
Yeah, it was.
facilities.
I think it came up in planning when I.
Yeah.
So I've not been in long, but when I remember it, other Councillor Davis talking about that.
Okay. What do they, haven't been down there yet, do they look?
I-
So this was same as it ever did.
Initially, there was 4 containers, and I thought that's what they were using. They were going to convert these containers. Then the containers disappeared, and when I went down there the other day, these are more obviously purpose-built porta cabins. Yeah, better. It looks nice and neat. There's nothing unsightly about it. It's nothing different to what they said they were going to do.
Okay, so that's good, so that's a closed
Yeah.
piece of work. 2235 Fletton House, so you've got the full report of Fletton House, that's specifically guttering repairs. The last heavy rain.
Yes. We had them repaired a couple of years ago because the same thing, during some heavy rains, there was lots of leaks basically. So we had this chap in to repair them, but we had a load of heavy rains not that long ago, and there seems to be leaks now in different places. So I've got him to quote, but he was quite expensive, and I've been chasing 2 other people for their quotes. One of them's come back to me now and said it's too high, can't work at this height. And the other one I just can't get hold of again. So whether you want me to accept this one quote, who I must admit last time we got quotes for the work was the cheapest, but I haven't got any comparables at the minute.
Wow.
Do you mean that it was too high on that particular occasion, so he couldn't get up and have a look? Or he doesn't work that far off the
I
ground?
think, well,
I mean, it's funny to have a job that's.
A good- yeah.
It'll be
Yes,
insurance
things
and
are too
ladders,
high.
won't it?
Yeah.
I guess.
I can't fix it. It's too high for me. I'm sorry.
I mean, I read that. And,
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, if you're a guttering person, you'd think you'd have the kit or hire the kit to do it. But
Stuff, yeah.
I mean, in the sense that if that guttering fell down and we put in a claim and it hadn't been checked, because the guy couldn't.
Mm.
I mean, it's niggling, it's nitpicking, but that's when things happen, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely.
Is there a problem in general with our gutter set for having to get them done every couple of years, 3 or 4 years? 'Cause this building's not that old.
No, the problem last time, and I don't know who did it, a lot of the guttering had been screwed together. So of course, as soon as you put a hole in guttering, it's a weakness.
Right.
This is back to the original building, Paul, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's so many things that were bad with this building.
So he rectified the major bits that had gone wrong there, but whether there's other bits now that have worn again.
So we've got a quote to have the remedial work done, is that right?
yeah.
How much is that?
£1,116.
Yeah,
And
and it's to clear them as well, because
All of
last
them.
time he said a lot of them were
Yeah, all gutters.
Yeah,
So
were chock-a-block with leaves and what's the stuff that falls off the roof? Moss, yeah.
Do we know if it comes with any guarantee?
Please, yeah.
Obvious.
Doesn't
It
say
could be
on
under your
here.
yellow post-it.
No, it's not under the yellow
I
post-it.
like the yellow posters. I think they're.
I'll find out from him. I will try and get another couple of quotes first of all, though. This is the chap as well that did the guttering on the public toilet. He's just completed that as well. So we have used him before. I just when I saw the price of that, I just thought I definitely wanted to get at least 2 different comparables. So if you want, you can authorise that if you want, subject to me looking at and getting another couple of prices.
I think we should try and get a couple more.
Mm.
But I mean, if they're not coming in anywhere near, my concern is that it's just one of those things that we have to keep doing.
Mm.
So is it a root cause problem or is it just general maintenance?
Yeah, I'll ask him that question.
Because if it's general maintenance, then fair enough, we'll just have to stick it into our 3 to 5 year.
I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure.
Because it will ruin the brickwork.
Did we, when the refurb was done, I think you kept, I can't remember whether you kept the guttering on the front or the back,
We kept some guttering, but we definitely had it all, we had it reviewed.
or looked at, yeah.
Because we wanted to keep as much integrity as we could, but we didn't want to keep it just for the sake of it. In
Yeah.
other words, can you please look at the guttering, is it okay?
Okay. So if it's general maintenance,
All right, if you can try and get 2 more
Yeah.
quotes, I think, at the minute, while we're in the
it's not urgent, yeah, at the minute.
And then
So.
we'll revisit, but, yeah, and then just to find out whether it's going to happen over and over again. If it is, then we'll have to factor it in. It's our most significant building, really. Is that okay?
Okay.
Legionella risk assessment. Never sort of had this put in place before. The water temperature, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we you have to have this done. Well, we've had it done before, and they recommend you have it done. But we have got a holding tank here in the basement. The other buildings, I think, are just off mains. So we've got a holding tank, and for some reason, it's only been, well, I wouldn't say it's really recent. We just can't get the cold taps, even when you run them for a long time. They're just not cold enough. Now, the chap who's coming, or I'm hoping will come to do the assessment, he said it could just be lagging, to do with the lagging, because if you've got your hot water pipe and your cold water pipe together, it could be transference of heat into it. But if it's something more complicated or more expensive to put right, then we might have to consider not using the water here anyway, and getting some.
Is that seriously? Is that a
I think
testing
so.
thing?
Yeah, I think Deborah's been doing the testing, and the water, it's supposed to be 20 degrees the cold.
But there's no. Have they tested it for Legionnaires, or have they tested it for the bacteria?
They did, yeah. We had a report. Was it 2 years ago? I can't remember when the last report was. 3 years ago. So we have had it done before, and it was obviously fine.
Okay.
We've always had the problem with not being able to get the water out of the taps cold.
Yeah, it's never been cold, but I don't ever remember it being as bad as it is now. But that might just be me. Do you remember, Liz? Because you've been in the building a fair while, haven't you?
As long as you, Lisa.
Yeah.
I would say, because not cold water doesn't bother me, I'm quite happy drinking it like that.
Yeah.
So it hasn't really been a thing, but other people have complained. But I would say from the beginning, so has it got worse? Hard to say, these things are pretty marginal. I've just become so much more aware of it with Debbie going round, always telling us the temperature, and so it's kind of raised.
I think that's probably with
awareness.
me, that's the reason, because obviously as a result of the last time we had this survey done, we said to them, what sort of things can you give us an itinerary of what we should be checking every week and what we should be doing. So yeah, it might just be that because Deborah's on it now, and we're checking everything so regularly, that it's obviously in the forefront of our
It was always like it.
Was it? Yeah.
Because I drink cold water and I've never managed to get cold water to drink.
No.
Okay, so you're asking to improve costs with the risk assessment
Yeah.
to be carried out.
Yeah.
So I think that's reasonable to do that. I mean, it's a public safety issue. Isn't it?
Yeah.
And staff safety first, but public safety. So is that reasonable? Do you need a proposal of the second?
Yeah, please.
So I'll propose,
Second,
plan. And then secondly, to approve, subject to the report, 2 standalone water dispensers. I don't have a problem with water dispensers, but I mean, it's an additional cost in a way, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, ideally, we don't want to have to do it, but
But a lot of public buildings do have water dispensers as well as access to mains water.
yeah. Well, to be fair, we had one up here. We sent it back after, when we came back to work, but we weren't up to full capacity. I can't remember whether it was Ian or somebody said, do we really need the water cooler? So we discontinued the contract and sent it back. But of course, there are a few people in the office that do like to have cold water, so, and have asked, are we going to get the water cooler back? Now we're all back to full capacity in the office.
So you sort of talk about 2, so where will they be if we've got 2?
Well, that's worst case scenario. If we can't get the water temperature down here, then we thought we might be obliged, especially as we're going to try and encourage more movement in the hub. We might be obliged to have one down there as well.
Well, I wouldn't personally have a problem with having a couple of water dispensers because I'm used to using them in public buildings.
well, it's cheaper and better.
I'm absolutely opposed on principle.
Okay.
Almost nothing will persuade me, short of any repairs that are required to get the water to a reasonable temperature. And even then, it doesn't bother me. If you want it cold, bring a water bottle of your own. I just think paying for water beyond what's supplied by the
That's
ambient water is.
See, I'm not the same problem. I'm not the cold water.
So why don't we just look at the risk assessment
I'd much rather
first,
Yeah,
start
right.
with that
and then defer this item till we know a bit more about
till I'm not here anymore, Lisa.
We've got an inbuilt jump out. No, I think it's reasonable. You are right.
Yeah.
They are a bit of a pain as well when they turn up and you've got to change the things.
That
There's all those cups that they want.
So there's, you
Is
create,
it
you
cups?
actually, the carbon, Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I think we should get one of the co-op juicers, the orange machine, the co-op.
Very popular.
Freezing
Very
orange,
popular.
perfect orange.
Well, I must admit, we did stop having the cups, even when we carried on having the water cooler.
You did.
We stopped
Yeah,
having
you
the
did.
cups because we said we'll just use our own glasses and encourage anybody that comes in to do the same. So you don't have to have those, but okay.
Thank you. Good, so that's a reasonable conclusion.
And Lisa, although I am opposed on principle, if there was a strongly held view amongst the staff and they wanted to lobby, I would be happy to hear that.
Mm.
But I would take a lot of
Mm.
persuading, and but I don't claim to have the majority on this committee. But yeah, I think there is an opportunity for people to say what they need.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think that's a good idea. So let's go for the assessment first, and then
Okay.
we'll bring it back.
Bring it back, yeah.
The hub, so in the hub we've got the coffee machine and it's working okay, is that right?
Yep,
And we've got a hub manager in place.
yes,
So that's been a successful recruitment.
Is the contactless thing working on the coffee machine?
So sorry, I've forgotten the name of our new.
Morag.
Morag, so I know Morag. So was she in the market last week? Did she go down?
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Excellent.
She said she got swamped
did you?
Yeah.
by everybody wanting a cafe.
Cafe, yeah, yeah.
Well, I did say it's.
I know.
No, I think it's good. I think it means that things are slightly altering a bit in terms of opening buildings up. So,
Mm.
so how long has she been in place then?
This is her third week.
Okay, it's all
Yeah,
done.
she's got some fish, making some plans, got some ideas and things like that. But yeah, she said she was not entirely surprised that all the feedback was just bring the cafe back again. But she said we'll see how it goes, see what we can do. Yeah,
Maybe she could come to one of these committee meetings, and that's in the next wee while, just to talk about plans.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
That'd be great.
No, I
Yeah.
don't want to put her under too much pressure yet.
Not yet, no.
Yeah.
Next week, yeah.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
QBH. So we still talk about the QBH, even though it's just the business.
Yeah.
Fire alarm emergency testing, reveal remedial work. Required, yeah?
That's what we approved at the last trustee.
Yeah, we approved that. Yeah. Kitchen is dire, that's been brought out before as well.
Yeah.
Recently.
Yeah.
It is all stuff that's been dealt
Kitchen is
with.
dire. I like
It's
that.
terrible. Yeah.
Bad drain smell.
Yes, and all it ended up being was somebody hadn't put the dishwasher on empty, so some dirty dishwater had sat in the bottom of it, and obviously with the heat, the smell had become pretty bad.
Okay. So we've got the people will be going in there, won't they, in part of the estate walk around anyway,
Yeah.
shortly. So we'll see. Okay, courthouse. Electrical testing dates to be confirmed.
Yeah, they're all booked in now. The courthouse is on next Tuesday. Cletton
And
House is Friday.
we've instructed the lease stuff to
Yeah, that's all being prepared at the moment.
so that's good. Public toilets, so they've done some work on the toilets, haven't they?
Yeah, he's finished they painted it. We've had
It's nice, it's
to,
better inside, I've been in. It's nice to go in with graffiti-less walls.
yeah, sure. How long that'll stay like that, I'm
Well,
not
you
sure.
know, you have to see what you do.
The guttering's been done. I've just got to get Nobby and John to put Nobby and Tony to put up the signs, our signage that we had done, new signage for ladies and gents. And then and clean the lights, take the lights down, because apparently when the Clean for Sure did the deep clean, I complained because those Perspex lights, there was loads of dead flies. I was like,
that's
could
what
you
you
not?
get there. Yeah, you have to keep them.
Yeah. So they've got to be unscrewed, so we'll have to just get Nobby to do that, and then that hopefully will look pretty good.
I know it's a bit of a strange question. Have we had any feedback from the public?
No, we haven't had any complaints though, so I just can't count that as a blessing.
What
Really.
about co-ops?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we've had quite a few people come in saying, oh, your toilets, they're really good. And it's like, well, they're not nice, but
Oh, that's
thank you.
good then.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's all good.
Yeah, and they smell, and we've got 2 new cleaners now. And I must admit, I've been going down and doing spot checks, and they smell a lot better and just look a lot cleaner than they have done in months and months and months. So I think we've got somebody on board now that is actually paying attention to the job. So,
Very good. That was a good piece of work. Recreation ground stuff. So the bench and then the skate park stuff.
yeah, the benches, I think I've now ordered them, although I've not had a confirmation email back from the lady. And obviously the skate park stuff is still ongoing. They've just had another consultation, haven't they, where they've made a few amends to the plans with feedback from.
It's
Young
called the
users.
imagination though, hasn't it, I think?
Yeah.
I've seen it everywhere. I've seen people scanning and looking at the posters. So.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Do we know what the timescale is for bringing all that to some sort of conclusion?
No, I think
No.
because of the funding issue,
You're just waiting for the.
yeah, and you've got to finalise the design, then decide how you're going to fund it. So I think Ian seems to think in terms of 2022, but personally I'd be rather, yes. If you get your funding by then, I'd be pleased.
Yeah, okay. Properties and open space. So we're going to have a tour around all the properties and open space. Me and Jamie are doing July, aren't we? Early
Yeah.
July. That's a bit segmented into different parts of the town.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. And mapping all to OTC assets.
Well, Ian asked for this to go on the agenda, but I was saying earlier it's a bit difficult when you suggest an agenda item, then you're not here. But I think because we're mapping the cemetery and
Yeah.
we've got this really wonderful piece of kit that's going to do that or help us do
When you
that.
say map it, what
Yeah.
is it? Is it a 3D digital drawing of the whole?
Well, the bit that we've got is just a map, an aerial map at the moment of the cemetery. But you can mark all your assets, including dog bins, any asset you've got, you can add it to a map so that you've got all the detail. You add layers to it or something. So, yeah, you can do footpaths. I can't think of any other dog bins, all your major buildings, all those bits and pieces.
I say we haven't got major assets in the cemetery anymore, have we?
No, but I mean, Rebecca did. I should have brought it with me actually. Rebecca did a basic one for our properties and open spaces for last year. So she did sections, so like for here, and then of Rockingham Hills, the bits of land that are ours, and then all our properties. So she's partially done it anyway.
Yeah.
I think Ian was just saying to do it in a bit more detail, and then if we have it online, people can look and know straight away what we're responsible for, what's ours.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Mm.
Put a value on some of it as well.
We used to get it every year, evaluation of all our assets.
Mm.
It was a yearly, and suddenly it stopped.
Oh, should that still be done then? I'll have to
There'll
ask
be some
Emma then.
old ones somewhere.
Yeah,
Well, I think with building, you should really have it as an asset on the asset register.
I think it must have to be because of insurance.
Has to be.
So Emma must be doing it.
Yeah, there'll be an indicative asset.
Yeah.
register. It's probably going to be 5 years.
Yeah,
Something like that.
I'll ask Emma.
I mean, it won't be. It would,
Standard council insurance just does the same uplift across all your assets
that's right.
every year unless you ask to have it revalued.
Oh, right, okay.
So, assuming you've been with the same insurer for some time, that's just what they'll be doing.
So it just goes up according to national
Whatever
inflation.
they
Yeah.
decide, yeah. Can I just go back, if
Yeah,
I
of
may,
course.
please, to the mapping the assets? So, Lisa, does that mean Rebecca is our resource to do that?
We've all had training on it quite some time ago, but Rebecca is the one that is a dab hand at things like that and has done more of it since we've had the training. Hence why I wanted her involved with the cemetery mapping, because that's going to be quite a lot of work. But yeah, I mean, we all had training when we first purchased the system, but that was quite a while ago and before lockdown. So we might have to have a refresher if we're all going to be involved in it. We will.
So, well, if you bought the software, I mean, it was originally with the cemetery in mind, is that?
Yes,
Oh, I see.
purely for the cemetery to start off with, yeah, because we've got such an archaic map.
I know.
And it was so inaccurate in lots of ways. We thought we need to work through this and get the records. And like Paul said from before, other councils, you can go onto their cemetery. You can even find pictures of headstones. That's what we were aiming for, because obviously I do get a lot of people researching family history, and I have to go and do it. Hence why we had it on the agenda about should we be charging. Because our website says we do, and it is quite time consuming. But yeah, that would, if we got that up and running, then I wouldn't be having to look up information for people so much.
I'm just not sure why discuss mapping of all OTC assets is on here when even the very first bit
Hasn't been done
isn't
yet, yeah.
complete.
Well,
It
I think,
seems
again, I think
too
Ian,
soon to
yeah.
give a further instruction. Oh yeah, on top of that, can you just
Yeah.
do everything else? I mean, I'm always conscious of what we ask the staff. And if the priority is the cemetery, let's say the priority remains the cemetery, and we won't look at doing anything else.
well, I think,
Cemetery's
I don't know how quickly and how much time we've got, but I think Ian thinks the cemetery is going to be done and dusted this summer, because he'd sent me an email about devoting some time in July to it.
Well, it needs to be managed into the work
Yeah.
pattern. So
Yeah.
to me, I think Liz is right. I mean, eventually we do need to know, but I'm sure there's a capital asset somewhere. But if you are going to, the cemetery is interestingly important because obviously it's got historical integrity, and people will ask.
Yes.
So
No one's going to
Maybe-
ask me to adopt it in time.
yeah, maybe this year probably. It's just to, especially if people are getting used to the software.
System, yeah.
We might as well, at least we can say at the end of it, we've got a decent record of the cemetery, because I've seen the arcane map. I mean, I'm sure it was great in its time, but it's a little bit.
I mean, it wouldn't be quite so bad if you could still see some of the detail on it, but you can hardly see the detail on it. It's faded so bad.
Yeah, I think on reflection, it's probably just an idea. Let's get the cemetery right. That's interesting.
I think it's a valuable piece of work to do the whole thing, because we keep,
not questioning
yes,
that.
it's the way it sounds a bit, because
No, we're not going to do it all in
we
one
seem to
year.
have these problems, so, over little bits of land now, so.
I think that it is a valuable piece of work, but
Yeah.
on reflection, maybe get one thing right
Yeah.
first, and
There's only so much time.
yeah, and then factor it into a work programme. We might be able to speed up the rest of it, having got used to doing the cemetery. Cemetery will be the
Well,
one.
yes, I think that's, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we can regularly tell the public what we own and what, they sometimes don't know, do they? But
No.
we know, we know what we own and what's ours, what isn't ours, and what services we put together, don't we? And we can just keep telling them. But the cemetery is important, I think. Good. Okay, everyone happy? Trees. Tree risk assessment with, I've actually read Councillor Clark's notations on.
Don't bother.
I read a few.
All right. If you're listening, Ian.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, he's asked. It prompted me to remember that the tree assessment was due again, so there's not really any point in going through his notes on the last report, because we'll be doing a new report. Yeah, so
Okay.
every 3 years it's supposed to be done.
So the next one's due now. Is that right?
Yes.
So which takes us on then to the second part of this agenda item. So to agree approve the costs. So we've got to do it. Is that right? We've got
Yeah.
to do it. And how much is it?
1,200 plus that.
Does that equate to normal?
Yeah, he's I think it's only about £150 more than it was 3 years ago.
I think we can approve that.
Yeah.
I would propose that we approve that spend.
Okay.
To get that done, and Councillor Jamie will
Amy, second.
second.
All in favour, yeah?
Yep.
Thank you.
And then I'm very happy for Ian's notated version of the report to come round with us when we do our
The
walk
report,
round.
yeah, exactly.
I did have a quick conversation with Lisa about this before the meeting, and we couldn't see any particular value in recommending to this committee that we go through it line by line now, given it's going to be redone and we're going to have the estates tour. So those two things together will deal with this point, I think.
Good. 224303 then, to discuss issues raised last month by a resident regarding self-seeded tree located within a grave space and decide next step. Were these the pictures that we got?
One of them,
Yeah, so I think if you remember at the last meeting, you were all in favour of removing it if it's causing damage.
Yeah.
But left it to sort of the new committee to have a look as well, see what they think. They didn't really think it was causing significant damage. And as we are with most things, a bit loath to remove a perfectly healthy tree. However, I've explained this to the gentleman and he's come back. I can't remember whether I sent it to you because he came back late. He came back with a few points about if it does damage things, will we, if we don't remove the tree, will we pay for damage to headstones and everything? So what I've done in the meantime, I thought, well, we'll refer it to the assessor, I'll be booking that. His initial thoughts were the same as mine. It's a cemetery. It's the nature of a place like that.
Yeah.
And
You get that in writing?
I've got it in writing, yeah. And that the same as us, he doesn't think we should be felling a healthy tree.
Well, we've never, in my time as a councillor here, we have been very careful about trees, and we've never got rid of the tree unless we absolutely had to. Absolutely.
The thing we don't know either as well is, Emma and I were speaking about this the other day, so we don't allow anybody to plant trees, saplings or bushes or anything within a grave space now, but I'm not entirely sure that was always the rule. So we don't know that the owner of the grave of, I think his name's Percy Clark, actually were allowed to and planted this tree themselves. So again, we could end up taking something out that somebody had asked permission and planted.
No.
It's a really tricky situation really, but I think if we see what the assessor says, I know if I speak to the tree officer, he's always anti taking out healthy trees.
Yeah.
Not that he's got any jurisdiction over it because it's our property. And then I think we probably decide from there to see what the tree assessor says.
Oh.
Can I, is it the owner of the grave and therefore the tree?
No,
One of the same
they're about two further back.
So why are they worried about what
And-
damage this tree?
Well, their grave as well. There's only one grave a little bit further away that's slightly subsiding, and you can't really even state that it's the tree roots that are doing that. You can't. And the only thing that's happened to their grave when they tidied it up, there was an ant's nest right next to it, so it was really messy. So it messed up the grass, and a self-seeding buddleia, which they'd ripped out, which is fine. That's but this tree is a few graves further away from there. So, but they were saying that the birds eat the cherries, obviously because it's a flowering cherry, and then they go to the toilet, and they reckon it's damaging the stone as well. So.
Well, I would have thought that would come under the scope of normal for a cemetery.
Well, that's exactly that.
You want wildlife in your cemetery.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same as people who complain about molehills and things. It's like, what can you do? There's not really much you can do. You're in the middle of a field, aren't you?
Yeah.
So
I guess that we stick to where we were and we get the assessment result, but we've got to have a sort of a narrative back with the person who's put the issue to us with some sort of cognitive response. That, they're not going to like it because they may have decided that they want it out of the way, but we're not going to, unless if it's not causing any issues other than aesthetic issues, then it's not an issue, is it?
No.
It's a tree that's there. The tree is not the tree's fault.
I mean, he does make the point that it is the only tree in that area, so you haven't got, several trees all in between the graves and everything. It's quite treeless, but, yeah, I don't know, it's a tricky one.
No, I think we stay where we were, get the assessment,
Mm,
then come to some language with the individual.
yeah, okay.
If that's okay with everyone. Good. 2244 workshops. I've got nothing to report on workshops, is that right?
Yeah,
Have I missed something?
so, yeah.
2245 electric charging points, nothing to report.
Still not heard anything, no movement.
Thundering ahead. Thundering ahead. And 2246 Watson Peters Church,
This is where the big money is.
Weldon Stone,
Oh, yeah.
got started.
Started.
The removal of the greenery has, lo and behold, revealed much more work. How much more work? Lots more work.
Lots.
That's what
19,000
I was going to say, yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? Well, we're in it, aren't we, I suppose?
Well, certainly the Gascoigne archway definitely needs attention. I mean, I was talking to Liz about this earlier as well. I was so surprised that Oundle School haven't been jumping up and down, because apparently the scaffolding that's at the back of it has been, they think they're about 10 years.
Really?
I don't know if I'm being stupid, is this not an animal school problem?
It's our wall.
It's a wall ownership problem.
The only thing is, Jamie, to say that we don't owe Amble School any right to go through that gate.
No.
So we could just close the
Close the
gate and say, we consider this is safe for the next 10 years, as long as no one uses it. I mean, I don't know, I'm not to make that assessment, but,
Right.
there is something about the stonemasons being on site now and having the opportunity to get it done. But I also think that we should seriously consider just closing the gate and saying that access is gone.
Yeah.
In fact, as an immediate thing, we probably should do that.
Thinking that.
Yeah.
Once you know about it.
Yeah,
I think you're right, because actually, if it was I'm not going to go out of school, but if it was the reverse, they would close the access if there was any issue whatsoever.
Mm.
So maybe Liz is right. Maybe we did close it. Have a word with the school first,
Yeah.
obviously, and then say we're closing it because there's more damage than we first thought once we've removed all the greenery, and we're happy to repair it, obviously, but we don't want it to be an issue, so we're closing it.
I wouldn't go as far as to say we're happy to repair it. I think that the amount of money is so substantial that that's a percent, not a percentage on the precept, but that's a appreciable percentage of the precept, in my view, £20,000. So when we're already committed to so much,
Well, it is a lot, actually. 20,000 on the bottom line is quite a lot.
it is. Whereas the other bit, the 4,400 odd, I think it seems to make sense to just go ahead and get that done, because it's part of the work. Effectively, it's almost part of the work that we originally scoped them to do. It's just they've only just realised there was more to it.
And
I
actually,
would like to discuss the gate at full council, really, and get a wide range of views on whether we want to spend 20,000 of this year's precept, which we hadn't budgeted for.
not on something else, but on this.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I think you're right, and actually closing it now wouldn't be too much of a problem
The gate
for
has to
9
be fixed.
weeks, because the school's just about to go on break. So I think Liz is right. I think the original investment that we said we put in place is reasonable, but the full council need to talk about 20k.
Yeah, well, I only brought
20k would kit out 2 halls with full audio visual stuff for everyone to hire. No, but you see what I mean? It's more of a benefit for 1,000 residents than maybe,
I appreciated that the cost was too high anyway, but I just brought it back so that it was an update.
I know we couldn't have made a decision, but we would normally put forward a recommendation, and I'm not sure I'm even at a point where I
No.
want to be doing that. But I do think that we have to tell Amble School we're closing that gate. there's no doubt that's our wall, we can close the gate.
I mean,
West.
there's a tremendous amount of use made
There
of
is.
the cemetery, the surroundings of the church,
Church
by the
yard.
school, as a throughway anyway.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
see
they
them
use that main
pouring
path.
out through where the wall fell over.
Yeah.
Loads of them pouring out of
Yeah.
that entrance. So I think it's actually a little bit more complicated than just the arch, maybe.
Is there a way we can?
Once we know that the walls are defective.
Defective wall.
Can we lock it rather than, because you can close it, but is there any way we can secure it?
I don't know, actually.
We'd have to have a look, yeah. The only issue I can see with that though is what if Oundle School then say they're going to take their scaffolding away and that water butt
Whose scaffolding is it?
it's theirs, they put it all up
Why?
because the wall's falling down.
So did they do it as a favour to us or because
Well,
nobody knew?
It's lost in the mist of time.
We don't know,
That's
don't know.
what's lost in the
Well,
mist of time.
they haven't done it for anyone else's, probably with the benefit other than.
Theirs.
School.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that flippantly, I mean, that's what.
It is only-
Of course it is, yeah.
That's what I would do if it was me.
I mean, perhaps they should be.
But then, see, this is why I don't understand why they've not come to us.
Because they knew
And-
that
and
we
made
would
a big
ask them to help
issue.
towards the
Yeah.
cost of the report.
Yeah.
There is a bit of that, but I'm not quite sure about the, I know there are certain obvious connections between the council and the school, but I'm not sure the lines of communication are always that great, to be honest.
Mm.
So maybe it's something, I think Liz is right, I think it needs to go back to full council in July
I do.
for a discussion about the gateway.
They're not going, if we say we consider it an urgent health and safety issue to close that gate, they've got no ground. I just can't see what argument they're going to make which says, and therefore we're going to take away the scaffolding. I mean, that would just be so petty. As long as we say we're continuing to review it,
That's
and
absolutely.
in fact have them here to talk about it, or
Yeah.
whoever needs to talk about it.
Who is the estates person?
You've got,
It's a woman.
there's Don Toriarty, who's the bursar,
Who's the
and
bursar?
Amy Scott is, I don't think she's head of estates, but she's the one that I deal with at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you remember when it was Richard?
Richard Tremeli, yeah.
No, he's gone.
I know he's gone, but we would see
No,
him
they didn't replace him, you see.
every other week. We would be talking to Richard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The very strong line. No, I'm not saying he always cooperates, but the lines of communication are such that we have lots of conversation about buildings and
Yeah.
stuff. So
Well-
let's put it on the full council agenda. But because we are in our rights to close that gate, and it won't be a big issue anyway soon.
No.
But it might be get used to it, and then we'll get a line from the full council about what we're going to do next.
In terms of negotiating with them as well.
Because it's either 4.5k or 20k. It's a little bit sensitive.
Well, I think, the 4,400 odd is a separate thing, which personally will be recommending, but as I say,
But not, yeah, exactly.
not the big one now, not necessarily opposed.
We've got some charging bills.
Okay. So the northeast corner, we need to consider, I think we can consider separately.
Yeah.
As they've quoted for that separately. How they came to list this in their original quote.
No.
No, well, the reason it is because they were going off the surveyor's report. The surveyor came and surveyed the wall and did put something in there to say there was quite a lot of greenery, so he might have to come back.
Right.
But obviously I think, I'm now thinking about it, the other two quotes were double Weldon Stone. And the other two people came and did a site visit. Now, I'm not sure whether Weldon Stone just priced off the survey that I sent, which would explain the significant difference in, because if they did a site survey and walked around with the report, then they would have seen these extra bits and pieces. So that may be why there was
They've
such
done
a,
it blind, haven't they, probably, on a survey.
possibly, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okie doke.
Well, I'd like to propose that we
Do the,
ask them to continue to do that work. Although I think that's outside of our price range as well, isn't it?
Yeah, 4,000 is only two.
So our recommendations for council is that
All of them,
we
yeah.
do that. And also that we talk about that general thing in general July. through the estates section of the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you. Back to the cemetery, John's Bench.
Come in.
Pardon?
John's Bench, is it gone in yet?
No, not yet.
Do they know where it's going?
We've got a location for it, and we know. I think Nobby's asked the family about what they want on the plaque. It's just getting around to doing it.
Okay, so it'd be good to get that in actually,
Mm.
to do a proper thing.
Yeah.
Well, we've got the light in the summer.
Yeah, definitely.
£25 per hour to research historical records. Is that our tariff then?
Well, that's Emma and I had a chat about it because if you remember last time you left it to us, you said as if you have a think about it, and Emma
Yeah.
googled some other,
Yes.
and she said about £25 an hour is reasonable, so that's what we thought we'd set it at.
I think that's a reasonable tariff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a good hourly rate, covers all bases.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Can
love this next item.
James Strong.
By a change in software, suddenly was saved. I mean,
Is that the asbestos thing?
no. This is
It's the EPC, the energy
Ah,
performance
the-
thing.
The rating.
Yeah, so we were on the cusp of,
being
which was
terrible.
decided last time to apply for this exemption. So Emma and I were going through the documentation and working out what we needed to do, what we needed to say, what information we needed to get from the Jones Strong Centre. And I think it must have been last thing on the Friday night, I just saw on my computer an email from him saying, there's been some changes, and I just emailed back assuming that it would make it look even worse for us. Didn't think it'd look any better. And then when I got his reply on Monday that said, no, in actual fact, you'll get an E rating. I've worked it out as long as nothing's changed since I last did it. And it's all to do with obviously being provided with cleaner energy now. This software hasn't been updated for years. So apparently we'll be able to.
Everyone then.
Yeah, lots
Yeah.
of people.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
So if he comes back and does the survey again, we'll then get a new EPC report that's E, which is efficient enough for us to actually go ahead with the lease that we've been wanting to get on with.
Well, hurrah for that.
I know.
And all because of
Software.
how can you not do an algorithm change piece of software that changes because all of the algorithms change with energy? There's been changes.
We're not going to.
But I'm not arguing. I'm just grateful.
I tell you why, it
Just accept it.
makes me nervous because things can go down as well as
Yes.
when it comes to software. All right, so we'll be able to sort the leasing will
Yeah,
come through. Once
yeah.
that's
As
confirmed.
soon, if you just agree for him to come and redo the survey,
Yes, please.
Yeah, we agree to that.
and then, yeah,
How fast will that be then? Soonish,
I've already,
done it?
yeah, Emma said go ahead, that's right, because it was under the £500,
Yeah.
so I said to Emma, are you gonna, I'll update them tonight, but are you gonna say, let's go for it, and she said yes, so I think I've already asked him to book it in,
All right, let's do
Yeah.
it. Let's get it sorted. Get the thing, and then we can get the leasing.
yeah.
And then we'll return to normal. Market, nothing to report. Although I think the Thursday market's starting to look quite nice again,
Yeah,
personally.
Well,
Yeah.
Karen said there was a very small turnout one day, as it was so windy or something.
oh, the windy day, yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't turn up.
Yeah.
I keep asking Karen to get a new underwear man, because in the
You don't
area,
want to know, Lisa. You
In
the-
don't have to tell us.
What do you do in your spare time then?
in the area I live, there's quite a lot of elderly people that absolutely love that underwear stall. So every time I see them, they keep saying, when are you going to get another underwear? So, well, I'll do what we can, or we'll do what we can, but
There is a lady I was speaking to who would like to
Oh,
be
no.
invited to the market.
And a
Okay.
stallholder.
what is she? What does she say?
Caroline something. I'll find out. I'll email her.
Okay, thank you.
The Thursday market.
What sort of store?
She said she'd spoken to you before, maybe. She sells like bamboo things that are made out of bamboo.
Oh, Fairbank, Caroline Fairbank.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know her. She comes to the Christmas market, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Very good. 2250 town events. Creative Outdoors request to use the recreation ground for parking during the party in the walk.
I was pretty sure we'd already approved this, but I couldn't find anything in when I
I
looked.
don't know whether we'd approved it, whether it was to do with something else, wasn't it?
Food festival, but I
Food
thought I'd
festival.
put them both together, but I obviously didn't. So it's just the same MO as the food festival. They've got wardens and everything. It looked, I must admit, when I drove past a couple of times on the food festival day to check how it was going down there. And the parking was very orderly. It all looked. The only problem that we were having though was people were, rather than parking in the Rec, they were parking down New Street and St Peter's. So
Do they get it free? I mean, because we had the occasion when they were charging people.
yeah, no, they're not going to charge, but we told them last time to apply for a grant, didn't we? Because they'd said, could they have the marketplace for free, because we didn't like them charging, because they were saying they needed to bring funds in. So they said if we didn't charge them the £500 to stand in the market or use the marketplace, then obviously they wouldn't have to charge for parking. But as it was last month, we just recommended that they go for a grant to cover those costs. So it'll be free parking.
It'll be free,
Yeah,
because
it'll be
I
free.
mean, charging, I think, will encourage people to park in the side
Yeah.
roads and people, apart from anything else, they won't come again.
Sorry, may I?
Yeah, cool. I'm just thinking probably what you're thinking. Go on.
Lisa, I think that conversation you've just had with Val was about the food fair.
Yeah, it was.
We're now separately considering their request
Yeah.
for party in the wharf, and we shouldn't just assume we'll agree on the same terms as last time. I'm very much in favour of charging rent for the use of council assets.
So this is why I'm trying to open it up. Because it's a money making. We'd have to look for everybody. Well, you know.
I'm sure we first charge the fun fair, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Jane, what do you think? I might speak.
My view is that it brings a lot to the town, so I would be inclined to let them use it for free. Personally.
Can you tell me what they do bring to the town?
Well, a lot of,
Apart from people.
yeah,
What do
people
the
spend money.
do? Well, I
Yeah.
can see, talk to the shops and things, they don't think it does bring them on to business.
This doesn't,
And certainly this does.
because it's based on the wall.
The
Yeah, I know, but
As Liz says, it's a totally different undertaking, whatever. And, you know, we've always had this thing that we can't just let people use things for free.
No. I think my concern is that it's a local event because it does. I've got nothing against the party in the wharf. No one does.
No.
But 90% of the indigenous population could walk to the party in the wharf if they wanted to. The second thing is I'm not really a fan of the Rec being used as a car park full stop.
Oh, no.
I'm not going to lie. Ever since I joined the council years ago, I've never liked it because there's a danger. It's a Rec, it's for children, and cars can wreck it. Yeah. Now, so the two ways you can handle it, you can just say no, which I'm not sure we would get particularly far with that potentially, but I would probably charge him to use it,
I would.
even if it's a notional fee.
Hmm.
Because otherwise, and I've got nothing against creative, I'm protecting a council asset. So, in other words, we're setting a precedent, because this will just happen 2 or 3 times every year now. And it will come back, and if we set a precedent for saying yes or no with nothing around it, then we can't say no the next time, can we?
When we discussed the rugby club, I know I was in a minority in saying I didn't agree with using the recreation ground, allowing them to use it. And I was persuaded that it would just be for that short amount of time. And I would strongly recommend to this council that if that request comes back in again, they are charged.
That's where I am. So I'd be happy to maybe let them use it as a.
what's the, so if we've charged Have we charged them before?
No,
Using it?
no.
It's not been a practice to actually let people
Yeah,
use it.
yeah, on a regular, yeah.
That's the point, that it was new, apart from us occasionally, when it's for something we've been doing as a council, and it's been so wet, we've had to use it.
Yeah, we do support Creative Anglo as well, because they use our
I know, yeah.
for peppercorn rent. That's right.
Yes, I mean, that's plenty of support.
I mean, it could, I don't know what to suggest. Maybe we say to them, well, if you want to use it, then you charge, you pay us a certain fee, I don't know, whatever.
What do you know what the charge is for the fun fair, for example?
Standing days are £30 a day, and training days are £60 a day.
£60 it is?
60 quid to use
Mm.
to sensitively use the rec as a piece of parking for something where I would say, but unless you're coming into Anvil, which is fair enough, there will be people coming in to Anvil. Anvil residents don't need to use it, do they?
No.
Do you remember if it's the same for the circus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally with £100 deposit,
Yeah.
so that if they damage it, they lose the deposit. Yeah.
I feel happy with that.
Well, under the same conditions as the circus and the fair.
Yeah, it's a commercial operation. I mean,
It is.
they're charging
So
to
I'm
go
talking
to
about
the
a
wharf.
deposit as
Yeah,
well.
but to go to the wharf, they're charging. I mean, the tickets are not. It's not free.
No.
To get in there, you have to pay for the ticket.
Absolutely.
That's all. It's notional enough, but it means a lot. I think.
Well, do you want to vote because Jamie wasn't
Sorry.
originally in favour?
I
The three of
What
us.
if, is there a middle ground where you said pay a deposit if you wreck it, we keep the deposit? Or do you really, I mean, that would be my,
Well, if we charge them, there's an opportunity cost, you see, because if they use it for a car park on a Saturday in July, then people can't use the rec as the rec. So we
Yeah.
lose the facility, basically, don't we?
On a lovely,
So-
potentially lovely summer evening.
So potentially, we'd have to say compensation for losing that space for all of our young people is 60 quid or whatever. I mean, it's 60 quid.
yeah,
It's enough to show that we're trying to keep the space, our assets safe, but also that they're running a commercial gig for all intents and purposes.
It's consistent with what we've asked other people.
Hmm.
I don't want to do anything differently to other people.
no, I get that, I've got no connection to it.
So could I propose that we do charge them the whatever the rate, the 60 quid
Yeah.
for the use of the car park on the party at the wharf?
Okay. So you're
I would propose.
proposed. Who's seconding it?
Councillor.
No.
Those in favour?
It's not many cars to get up to 60 quid.
How
If
many-
you're charging £5 a car.
Anyone against? It's all right. It's all right.
You know, saying.
Yeah.
It's like half the Tory party with the Brexit, not Brexit.
Don't bring
Northern
Brexit.
Ireland. No,
Yeah,
well, it
yeah.
might as well be called Brexit.
It is basically Brexit.
It is basically Brexit.
Oh
no, sorry, you got Brexit done.
That's funny.
Sorry, that's a can't be.
So just to wrap up a little bit about the town event. So obviously the Queen's Jubilee you discussed at full council. The food festival was good. I watched it because I was isolated, but it was a little bit. The footfall was a bit down, but it was lousy, wasn't it? The weather was a bit lousy.
Yeah.
It was
Such a shame it
They
was.
went
Yeah.
quite early as well, didn't they?
Mm.
Which did mean that businesses in the town did quite well, actually, Val, because
Oh,
lots
yes,
of people
I'm
were
not
going
saying-
to sheltering in the rain.
I'm not saying that, yes.
No, I'm just saying it was quite funny that they were all benefiting as
That
well.
was a strange, yeah, there was a strange benefit. So it's normally a massive, my friends come over, but we couldn't this year, but it just looked a bit, you can understand, we'd had the celebration with the Jubilee as well, that was well attended, even though it was a little bit different.
Mm.
So,
I mean, well, it was raining.
it was, yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I think the staff have been thanked for the Jubilee, but the Jubilee ran like clockwork in terms of staffing, so thank you for that. And we've got the Remembrance Day and Christmas market closure applied for already.
Day after the Jubilee
We've
was
got
out
the
the way.
reindeers,
so-
we've got the reindeers.
Reindeers were approved.
We've had
days
three wise
ago.
men yet, haven't we?
Regina with Jamie and just want to find.
Good, yeah, we're very good at that, actually, we are good at that, the logistics work really well, so that's good. 2251, complaints about, I haven't heard of, but apparently Gigature.
Yeah.
with
Well,
their
there was a nice
equipment.
photo.
It's the other picture.
Yeah, I've got another picture somewhere, I don't know if I, yeah. So they're around and about, aren't they, and I keep getting bits of paper stuff through the door.
Yeah.
And people are complaining about their gear everywhere. I'm not quite sure. I don't know whether is it more unusual than normal putting in fibres, or is it just that
They have been very messy, I must admit. I drive down Springfield Road every day, and well, they dug it up twice, but the mess was horrendous. And the people that live down that bit were complaining all the time how they left equipment at night near their driveways and things like that. This complaint here is from a gentleman that lives there, but he was complaining for us because that's our land, not being Tony mow it and look after it. That's part of the bit we maintain. And he said that, if it rains, they're going to be chewing it all up. And so he was reporting it to us because he said it's somewhere that you keep really nice, and they're coming in and just showing complete disregard for anything.
Right, so we're gonna write a strong letter.
I think these have gone now, because when Nobby went down to see them, he says, well, we'll be done by the end of tomorrow or something like that. So I sort of thought it might be a lot of fuss about, but yeah, I mean, I can get a contact number and just say to them, we've had several complaints.
What I would like to know is, are they done now? Have they put in place what they need to put in place?
I don't know, because they still keep seeming to pop up all over
I've
the
never
place.
heard of them. I'm not going to lie.
No, I've not.
As as broadband specialists, so I don't know if they're working on behalf of some a bigger company in their own name, but they're definitely all over around them.
Yeah, I've never heard of them.
All over the place. Yeah, everywhere I go, I see them.
When they came and did with Newton, there were a lot of complaints about the way that they made good the pavements. And I have to say, highways, Northampton's highways as it was then, were brilliant actually in pursuing them. We had a particular kind of gravel down, and they made them redo almost the whole of Main Street in this special gravel. So if you really do hold them to account, I think the contract that they hold with whoever their contract is with, Northamptonshire, can't be, I don't know, Northants Council, I think there will be clauses in there about making good.
It might not be regarding land that's not owned by the.
No, I agree, but I mean, I think that we would have an automatic right under that, some automatic right under that contract.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's worth putting a
If there
letter
isn't
in.
any damage.
Well, what I was just thinking is if I asked Nobby to go and have a look tomorrow, because Nobby said to me, he said, it's a bone dry day. Yes, they're parking equipment on there, but it's not doing anything. So
I know there's a reasonableness test, isn't there? If they leave and you don't know they're being there, that's all right.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. If they leave and it looks like a war zone, then there's a problem.
And you see, the problem is, if you'd have parked all of that equipment on the road, they'd have been moaning about the access and traffic and things. So
They're messing around with road movements, and that's even more.
Yeah.
I think that'll upset more people. So
Are there two issues then? Because you mentioned about the mess.
I've just done that from personal experience.
I mean, have we done anything
The
about that? The
no,
mess?
not yet. No.
Are we going to?
Well, I'll do it all in one email.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I thought that you were not so bothered about the vehicle park.
No, well, I think they've rectified the mess though, because that's, I said they dug it up twice.
Yeah.
They came back very quickly, so I think that's been rectified. Although I didn't look at it in any great detail the last few times I've been down there, so I'll have to have a look. But yeah, I'll get a customer service email and send a letter with some of the.
I think if there's nothing much to moan about, we should probably keep our powder dry. If they're not going to come back, then it's done, isn't it? Everywhere you go, either Openreach or someone has got something. On my way to Bedford, which is only 29 miles, there's fans everywhere at the minute because the proper fibre broadband's
Yeah.
not coming into place.
Mm.
So, and you can't do it without opening up
No.
bits of apparatus. So I think we acknowledge what's been said, but
Yeah.
if there's nothing that we feel is necessary to report, we probably shouldn't at this stage,
Okay.
because there's no damage. You know, if they'd knocked the wall memorial over, it'd be a different
Mm.
kettle of fish, I suppose. 22:52. Well, anything else to report? Liz, Jamie?
Nope.
I think the only thing I was going to say is that they're marking out the York stones. I've seen the thing from Emma about the York stones in the marketplace, where they filled them with tarmac. There's a problem with the tree. Some of the trees are breaking the York stones up.
Oh, the trees that are supposed to have been taken down anyway?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what happens then.
Well, I can't remember how many times I've emailed the person. I've sent them the tree report, and
Christmas lights look so good in those trees.
I know, that's-
with the yarning currently.
Yeah.
yeah,
But they are. I mean, the York stones are £25 each,
yeah,
and when people park on the verge and break them, and they park in the middle, they're all broken.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a shame.
Mm.
That's why the bollards went up to stop
Mm.
people. And it did,
Getting on there.
apart from a former vegetable shop owner who, when he saw the bollards going up, he parked his van right in the middle of where the Christmas trees go. So I said, put the bollards up now.
mm,
So we need to look after them really. But if
Mm.
it's just through natural degradation, then the trees are the problem. We can't
yeah.
break everything down. isn't
I
it?
think, again, we were going to see although we've told the tree assessor that they're not actually our trees, we have asked him to have a look at them again.
Ah,
How can you say they're not our trees? To whom do they belong?
At North Northamptonshire highways.
To
Yeah.
to highways,
Mm.
right?
I can't remember how we found that out, but
Because
It's a
we
while
had a
ago.
grant, it was before your time, a big grant to get that marketplace done with the York stones.
Yeah.
Used to be a car park.
oh right, okay.
I mean, when I first came, it was a car
Oh,
park.
it's a shame.
And
It's
then
not
we
a car
had-
park.
A project
that's
and
lovely.
got a grant to make it into a paved
Mm,
walking area.
Yeah, and actually Rupert
That
got,
is what it should be.
Rupert got the grant on the bollards put round them in my time.
Well, I was
Through Norman.
chairman of
That's right, yeah.
properties, I got the bonds effectively.
That's all.
And he got a grant, then gave us his grant money for it.
It's such a pretty part of the town in the middle, so
Mm.
if it's trees that are breaking it down, then we'll have to sort the tree out.
yeah,
And the trees do unfortunately block the signposts. That's always been a visible problem.
yeah. Well, they're in quite poor condition. Well, obviously,
Yeah.
because that's why the tree surveyor said they need to be taken down.
It's very French though, isn't it, to have trees above benches in a marketplace? It always makes
I
me think of
I
that.
suspect they're just not trees that
No,
suit
they
to
weren't
be
safe,
saved, don't
exactly,
they?
yeah.
But I mean, if there were plain trees, for instance, it may be perfectly all right, because they don't even seem to mind tarmac, do they?
Mm.
But then we've got problem with plain trees down in the car park, Longstay car park, route or whatever.
Mm.
Which will come out through our
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, so meeting closes 20:39.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.